The late afternoon sun filtered through the oak trees along Highway 14, casting long shadows across the empty road. Mark Harrison wiped the sweat from his brow as he guided, his old red sedan around the bend, his daughter Emma chattering happily in the back seat about her day at kindergarten. At 42, Mark had learned to find joy in these small moments. Life as a single father wasn't what he'd planned, but it had taught him what truly mattered. His rough hands, calloused from years of working as a mechanic, gripped the steering wheel with the same gentle care he brought to everything in his life these days. That's when he saw her. A woman in a black judicial robe stood beside a broken-down pickup truck. Hood raised, steam billowing into the autumn air. Even from a distance, Mark could see the frustration in her posture. Her arms were crossed, and she was staring at the engine as if sheer willpower might fix it. "Daddy, that lady looks sad," Emma said, pressing her small face against the window. Mark slowed the car and pulled onto the shoulder. "You're right, sweetheart. Let's see if we can help." As they approached, the woman turned. She appeared to be in her late 30s, with blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, wisps of it escaping around her face. Her blue eyes showed equal parts worry and resignation. The professional robe seemed oddly out of place on this lonely stretch of road. "Afternoon," Mark called out, offering a friendly smile. "Looks like you could use a hand." The woman's shoulders relaxed slightly. "That would be wonderful. I'm not exactly dressed for roadside repairs." She managed a tired smile. "I'm Jennifer Morrison. I was heading home from court when the engine just gave up." Mark extended his oil-stained hand, then thought better of it and wiped it on his jeans first. "Mark Harrison. This is my daughter, Emma." Emma waved enthusiastically from behind her father's leg, clutching her small, stuffed bunny. "Hello, Emma," Jennifer said warmly, her judicial composure softening. Mark leaned over the engine, his experienced eyes quickly assessing the problem. "Looks like your radiator hose burst. The engine overheated. Do you have AAA or anyone I can call for you?" Jennifer's face fell. "My phone died about 20 minutes ago. I've been standing here hoping someone would stop. You're the first car I've seen in half an hour." "Well, you're in luck," Mark said, his voice calm and reassuring. "I run Harrison's auto shop just 15 minutes up the road. I've got the parts we need in my truck at home. I can fix this for you right here, save you the towing fee." "I couldn't ask you to do that," Jennifer protested. "You're already on your way somewhere." "Just heading home for dinner," Mark said with an easy shrug. "Emma and I have nowhere more important to be than helping someone in need." "Isn't that right, sweetheart?" Emma nodded vigorously. "Daddy fixes everything. He fixed my dollhouse and Mr. Whisker's leg when it broke." Jennifer laughed, the sound breaking through her stress. "Mr. Whiskers?" "Her stuffed cat," Mark explained with a grin. "Emergency surgery with a needle and thread. He made a full recovery." The warmth in Jennifer's eyes deepened. "You sound like a very good doctor, Emma." "Tell you what," Mark continued. "My house is just a few minutes away. Why don't you follow me there? We can get Emma settled with her snack, and I'll grab what we need and come back to fix your truck. Or if you'd rather wait here, I can run home and come back." Jennifer hesitated, clearly weighing her options and her inherent caution about strangers. But something in Mark's steady, honest gaze and Emma's innocent presence made the decision easier. "If you're sure it's not too much trouble?" "No trouble at all," Mark assured her. "That's what neighbors do." Within minutes, Jennifer was settled in Mark's modest living room while Emma carefully arranged her toy cars on the floor, explaining the rules of her imaginary race. The house was tidy but lived in, with photographs of Emma at various ages, covering the walls and a well-worn couch that spoke of comfort over style. "Your home is lovely," Jennifer said, meaning it. "We do our best," Mark replied, grabbing his toolbox from the garage. "Emma, you keep Miss Jennifer company while I go fix her truck, okay?" "Can I show her my drawings?" Emma asked hopefully. "If Miss Jennifer would like to see them." "I'd love that," Jennifer said softly, watching as Emma scampered off to her room. Mark headed back to the broken-down truck, worked steadily for the next hour, replacing the burst hose and refilling the coolant system. The familiar work was meditative, giving him time to think about the unexpected encounter. There was something about Jennifer's combination of professional competence and genuine vulnerability that reminded him that everyone, regardless of their station, sometimes needed help. When he returned, Emma was showing Jennifer her crayon masterpieces, explaining each one in elaborate detail. Jennifer sat cross-legged on the floor, her judicial robe draped over a chair, listening with complete attention as if Emma's stories were the most important thing in the world. All fixed, Mark announced. Good as new. Well, good as old anyway. That truck has a few years on it. Jennifer stood, relief flooding her face. Thank you so much. What do I owe you? For the parts and your time? Mark waved her off. Consider it a welcome to the neighborhood favor. We help each other out around here. But the parts alone. Had them sitting around the shop. Better they get used than gather dust. He smiled. Besides, Emma's been great company. That's payment enough. Jennifer's eyes glistened slightly. You have no idea how much this means. It's been one of those days, you know, when everything feels like it's falling apart. I do know, Mark said quietly. Been there myself more times than I can count. They stood there for a moment, two strangers connected by a simple act of kindness, before Jennifer reluctantly gathered her things. Can Ms. Jennifer come back? Emma asked, tugging on her father's shirt. That's up to her, sweetheart, Mark said gently. Jennifer knelt down to Emma's level. I'd like that very much. Thank you for showing me your beautiful drawings. As Jennifer drove away in her now functioning truck, Mark felt the warm satisfaction of having helped someone. It was a feeling that never got old, no matter how many times he experienced it. That night, as he tucked Emma into bed, she said, Ms. Jennifer was nice. Daddy? She was sad, but then she smiled. That's because you're good at making people smile, Mark told her, kissing her forehead. Sleep tight, baby girl. The next morning brought a different kind of anxiety. Mark had to appear in court for a custody hearing. His ex-wife, who had left when Emma was just 2, wanted partial custody now that she'd remarried and gotten her life together. Mark's stomach churned as he pulled on his one good suit, the one he'd bought for job interviews years ago. His neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, a grandmother who'd become like family, arrived to watch Emma. You'll do fine, dear, she assured him, squeezing his hand. Anyone can see you're a wonderful father. The courthouse was intimidating, all marble and echoing footsteps. Mark found his way to courtroom 3B, his lawyer already waiting outside. Ready? Attorney Davis asked. As I'll ever be, Mark replied, his voice tight with nerves. They entered the courtroom and Mark took his seat at the defendant's table. His ex-wife, Rachel, sat across the aisle with her new husband and her lawyer, looking confident and put together. Mark tried not to feel self-conscious about his 5-year-old suit and his mechanic's hands that never quite came clean. All rise, the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Jennifer Morrison presiding. Mark's heart stopped as Jennifer walked in, wearing the same black robe from the day before. Their eyes met, and he saw the flash of recognition, the surprise, and something else he couldn't quite read. Jennifer took her seat, composed and professional, though her hands trembled slightly as she opened the case file. Please be seated, she said, her voice steady despite the surreal situation. We're here today for the custody hearing in the matter of Harrison versus Harrison. The next 2 hours were grueling. Rachel's lawyer painted her as a reformed person who'd overcome her struggles with depression and instability, ready to be part of her daughter's life. Mark's lawyer emphasized the stability and love Mark had provided as Emma's sole caregiver for years. Through it all, Jennifer remained professionally impartial, asking questions, reviewing evidence, listening intently to both sides. If she felt any conflict about judging the case of the man who'd helped her the day before, she didn't show it. Finally, after hearing all the testimony, Jennifer leaned back in her chair. I'd like to speak to Mr. Harrison alone if counsel has no objection. Both lawyers looked surprised but agreed. Rachel and her husband stepped out, leaving Mark standing before the bench, his heart pounding. Jennifer looked at him directly, her blue eyes serious but not unkind. Mr. Harrison, I need to address something before I make my ruling. Yesterday, you helped me when my truck broke down. You showed me extraordinary kindness, refused payment, and welcomed me into your home. I saw how your daughter interacts with you. The love in that house, the kind of father you are. Mark's throat tightened. Your Honor, I didn't know. She held up a hand gently. I know you didn't. And that's exactly the point. You helped me because that's who you are. Not because of what I could do for you, but because it was the right thing to do. I've seen a lot of people in this courtroom, Mr. Harrison, People at their worst. They're most desperate, they're most calculating. What I saw yesterday was genuine goodness. A father teaching his child by example what it means to care for others. Jennifer paused, gathering her words carefully. That said, I cannot let yesterday influence my legal judgment. I've reviewed all the evidence in this case objectively. Ms. Harrison has made real changes in her life. And Emma deserves the opportunity to know her mother if it's in her best interest. Mark felt his world tilting, but Jennifer continued. However, the evidence also shows that you've been Emma's constant. Her stability, her home. You've built a life for her filled with love, community, and security. Therefore, primary custody will remain with you, with graduated visitation rights for Ms. Harrison, starting with supervised visits and potentially expanding as Emma adjusts. Relief flooded through Mark, so powerful his knees nearly buckled. Thank you, Your Honor, he managed. Jennifer's professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the warm person from the day before. Thank you, Mr. Harrison, for yesterday and for being the kind of parent every child deserves. As Mark left the courtroom, Rachel approached him, tears in her eyes. Thank you for not fighting me on visitation. I know I don't deserve your grace. Emma deserves to know her mother, Mark said simply. If you're really ready, I won't stand in the way of that. Outside the courthouse, Mark called Mrs. Patterson to share the news, then sat on the steps for a moment, letting the weight of the morning settle. A shadow fell across him, and he looked up to see Jennifer, now in regular clothes, a soft sweater and jeans. I hope I didn't overstep in there, she said quietly. I recused myself from 3 other cases this morning because of potential conflicts. But this one, the evidence was clear regardless of yesterday. I couldn't let one act of kindness, even a meaningful one, bias my legal judgment either way. You did right by Emma, Mark said. That's all that matters. Jennifer sat down beside him on the steps. You asked me yesterday if I'd been having one of those days, when everything falls apart. I wasn't entirely honest. I've been having one of those years. Divorce, career pressure, wondering if I'm making the right decisions about cases that affect people's entire lives. And then your truck breaks down, Mark added with a gentle smile. And then a good man and his beautiful daughter remind me that kindness still exists in the world. Jennifer's voice was soft. You didn't just fix my truck yesterday. Mark, you reminded me why I became a judge in the first place. To help people, to make a difference, to try to find justice in an imperfect world. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, 2 people who'd briefly intersected at exactly the right time. Emma really would like to see you again, Mark said finally. No expectations, no pressure, just if you'd like a friend, someone who understands that life is complicated and kindness matters. Jennifer smiled, the same warm smile that had broken through her stress on the roadside. I'd like that very much. As they exchanged phone numbers, Mark thought about how strange life could be, how a broken radiator hose and a simple choice to stop and help could lead to something unexpectedly meaningful. That evening, Emma asked again about the nice lady from yesterday. Will we see Miss Jennifer again, Daddy? I think we might, sweetheart, Mark said, hugging his daughter close. I think we just might. Outside, the autumn sun set in shades of gold and amber, painting the world in warm light. And in that moment, Mark Harrison, single father and small-town mechanic, felt profoundly grateful for the simple, unexpected ways that doing the right thing could change everything. Sometimes kindness was its own reward, and sometimes, just sometimes, it brought you exactly what you didn't know you needed. Connection, understanding, and a reminder that good people still existed in the world, waiting to be found on dusty roadsides and in courthouse corridors, in the small moments when you chose to stop and help.